Welcome to the Goldfinger Sodcast live on air, Google Hangouts live, whatever. Um, Welcome to this special episode, kind of similar to a special episode we did 2 days ago. Alone, wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, we have very special episodes coming out because this is a very special time for New Jersey.
A very special time, but not everybody would know that. It was the primary yesterday for a lot of the statewide positions because you see, we have a slightly staggered schedule, which you would know if you listened to our other podcast or some of our other podcasts. And basically, that means we're a year off for some of our statewide things, which, kind of suppresses our sort of our election turnout. I just want to say something first before we continue. I think this is going to make Alone happy. Today, we completely refabbed the radio office in the East Side room, and we can now record using actual recording equipment to a computer with editing software.
What?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. This has never happened before.
I thought it never would happen.
I thought it never would either. But basically, we did it. So this show is useless now. Just kidding. The show is fantastic. So, Alone, what was my idea for our coverage of the election?
So what we were gonna do is we were gonna go to the different polling places and kind of interview different people. So we basically accomplished that. We had to get our credentials at Blackwood first in order to interview these people. But then we went to Temple Bechalone and interview a bunch of people to kind of why they voted, the importance of voting, and basically, as you'll see later, these questions were very pertinent to the result of the actual election.
Yeah. Just to add on to that. So, Alone finally shared with me the video we took yesterday. We took it on his phone because I have a very low quality of video and audio I can take on my really cheap Samsung phone. Alone has a much nicer Samsung. That's going to probably come out tomorrow because it's finals week and I don't have any finals tomorrow. And I do the video editing. So I think we should elaborate. First, I think you should elaborate more on your opportunity to attempt to vote and then how you failed at that. And then we'll talk about what we had to do in order to become real journalists covering this primary. So, Alone, where do we start? I know where we start. Tell me about when you registering to vote and what you thought would be the case going into this election.
So I kind of went to register to vote um, in the deadline,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, basically, when I registered to vote, I checked with them, can I vote with the primary? This wasn't like a high up official. I don't even think this was any sort of manager. I
Mm-hmm.
just assumed that the people working there would know. But this person, I didn't ask for a name or anything. That might have been a mistake. Told me that as long as I turned 18 before the general election, I could vote in the primary. So I thought I could vote in the primary. And then I go to vote, and they kind of shoo me away. Very nicely, though, very nicely. Because they said I wasn't old enough to vote. So I went on a whole quest to find out the rules. Ended up calling up the New Jersey election office, more on that later. And they said that I had to be 18 to vote, which sucked a lot, sucked a lot. But
Were you were you royally pissed?
I wasn't royally pissed. I was angry, but I can't be angry at the people because I didn't do all the research myself. I was angry that I just couldn't vote.
That's sad because as we'll get to later, the people that you wanted all lost.
People that you
Every
wanted
single one.
too.
Yeah, but I didn't think I could vote.
Yeah.
So that was different. So here's a timeline of us attempting to cover the election. So, right, Alone tried to first vote at like 6 in the morning, like right when the polls opened. Because he had to go to school. We had our senior issue of East Side distribution day. That was pretty fun. And he comes in, he says, they're telling me I can't vote. And, obviously he's in school for the whole day. And afterwards, he runs off to go on this quest to find out what the truth is. And it takes him a while and eventually figures out it can't happen. So at around, was it like 3:45?
Yeah,
Alone?
I'd say 3:45.
He decides it's in vain and will finally go over to his polling place, Temple Beth Shalom uh, house, a synagogue. Um, we're both Jews, if I must remind. And we're going to go interview people. And he's like, "Do you think we need to ask beforehand if we can if we can videotape around there?" I'm like, "Of course we can videotape Alone. This is a democracy. This isn't Soviet Russia. Why would they stop us?" And
Turns out that you need credentials to videotape.
you need to get
So
observer status.
we went, and then we took another long trek. We took a long trek to Blackwood
That's
to
where
get
the
our credentials. Now,
that's where the board of
that trek
elections
would
is.
have been much. Now that would have been much easier if I had someone who actually knew how to read a map directing me. So it turns out we ended up in some shady neighborhood. I'm pretty sure like there were some really dangerous people in there. And I asked Josh where the heck he put me. He kind of said, I don't know. It's like, go I do a K-turn, go retrace my steps backwards until he can find out how to get there.
Which we did.
And we got there a good 15 minutes later than we thought we would, but we got there.
And we go into the building. We talk to the security guard.
They're very nice to us.
We go up the steps. We had talked to a woman on the phone while Alone was eagerly pacing outside of TBS.
Okay.
And she figured out what the papers we needed, explained the whole thing to us, and we had to sign a sheet. And you know who else was on the sheet?
Telemundo.
And CBS. That means
Not
we were
CBS,
totally.
NBC 10.
Oh, and NBC 10. We were so legit. We were like pretty legit. Like I have the papers upstairs. I'm probably going to frame them.
I don't know if I'll frame mine. I'll put it in my collection of prized certificates.
Wow, Alone. That's beautiful. How many of those do you have?
A bunch. I'm just so important.
You're so great, Alone. So basically, we then had to go back. So, we get back in the car. There's more traffic now. And we figure, oh, people are going to be at the polls. There's all these cars on the road. People are they're coming home from work. They're getting ready to go out. Polls close at 8. Results come out like 30 minutes after that. People are going to be swarming, and we're full of of jolly good feelings about our coverage, and we're feeling really good about the progressives, and we're ecstatic that we have these credentials that were signed by the board of elections. Like they're celebrities, just like us. And we get to TBS, and there's like the same number of people there as when we were there earlier, and that's like 3 people.
Hey, sometimes there were 5.
Okay, maybe 5, and there were kids occasionally because like families came in, but they don't count. They can't vote, just like us.
I'm like a kid.
And the poll workers, they were actually surprised that they saw us again with the papers. We told them about our trek, and I guess they were a little impressed. So
Yeah.
that happened.
Apparently, like we
And
got a
we
signature from a boss of a boss of a boss or something like that, from like a really high up
we
dude
went
on the board of elections.
all the way over their heads, like so far above their heads, we were tap dancing on their heads. Pretty crazy. We were basically the election. So we set up camp. It's sort of like their multi-purpose room. There were 4 districts voting in there, but you wouldn't really know it considering the number of people who were coming in. And we were just standing by the door, and we were told that we could interview people on the way out, not really on the way in. We're trying to catch people, but people either said they didn't have the time or they didn't want to be on video, which I understand because I have a bruise on my face from kneeing myself while on a trampoline, and it's kind of ugly, and I wouldn't have done an interview. But I don't
And
know, a little sad. We got a couple good ones, and you'll see them when we put out the video.
so, what we talked about mainly, to put it very generally, was voter participation, right? And
Mhm.
why you voted. But the thing is, I'm a senior right now, so a good majority of my class can vote. And I've talked to some people who can vote who are very, very passionate about that which they believe. And I asked them, did you vote? And they said no. Every single time they say that, I say you can't complain about what's going to happen. I think people, especially now after the presidential election, they're very, very good at complaining, not very good at actually doing something, even if that something is literally checking a box. And that's sad.
Quite literally checking the box. Yes.
And they make it so that it's a polling place near you. It's not like you have to drive 30 minutes, at
Hmm.
least here. That was my
So
little spiel.
yeah. So we asked people about what they felt about voting. Obviously, they were all voters because we met them at a polling place as they left after voting. Most of them were on the older side.
One of them said he
We
didn't
asked,
want to do an interview with us because he's good at voting, not talking.
yes, and if you hear this, sir, uh, that was our favorite quote of the day, easily. Except for these are your credentials because that made us feel really good. Um, so we asked them about what issues they cared about, and you'll see in the video, a diverse group of issues. Taxes, obviously, zoning was a big thing. We asked about whether they thought the state or the local stuff was more important in their vote. A lot of them were mentioning local issues as big, and that's something we, as a podcast that occasionally podcasts about local things, as you can say, like Merrick Garland, obviously, or what to expect when you're expecting a local election. Things like that.
Merrick Garland
Uh,
was a local thing.
Shut up. He felt local. He felt like a small town guy.
The
Um,
point is,
that was a joke the first time. Okay, yeah.
wasn't a well planned joke, Josh.
Anyways, so we interesting things they said. And then after a while, Alone had 2 finals today to try to pull his grades up to grasp the A out of the air, and I had a final because whatever, and he wanted to go home, study for that, and we're in the parking lot, and we realize that the person that looked kind of like the councilwoman was actually Councilwoman Melinda Kane, in the parking lot with a column 6 sign, and across from her, what was the candidate's name? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It'll be in the video because we interviewed her.
Yes.
You get to that. She was there with the column 7 sign. Well, I guess they were about 100 feet from the polling place because they couldn't be within 100 feet. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been allowed to do what they were doing. And they were just hanging out there, being promotional. So we talked to Melinda Kane, who knows my mother because they go to the same hair place, which I also go to occasionally because they do my hair well. We asked her if she would do an interview with us, and she said no. And then the column 7 woman, she did do an interview with us. It was actually really good. And afterwards, we said good luck. We were behind the progressives, and I think she'll end up maybe hearing this, definitely seeing the video because she got the information for East Side online. And that's where the fun ended. alone, because what happened?
Well, you see,
Alone?
when you go running around all day from place to place without having any option to charge your computer, you end up having a situation where your phone is hanging on 1% battery, connected to uh, an external battery, hoping that your interviews go through. And what you know, it a Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge takes up way more battery than an actual battery charger can give it. So halfway through 2 interviews, the video cut out.
I was actually referring to the results of the election, but yeah, that happened. And
Oh, yeah, that's less important.
if you're listening to this and you realize a part of your interview was snipped, we're very sorry. Um, we're intending to use as much as possible, and everyone we talked to, we're really thankful because we understand it took time out of your day. But no, I pulled up the election results for our town council. We're going to talk about
And
also
Column 7 won?
No, they all lost.
That sucks.
Yeah, so let's look right now. So these four, column six, regular Democrats, all about 4,600 something votes ish, mostly. Um, and for our main progressives right here, about 2,350 votes. You know, kind of lost. And then those 10 write-ins were for Rick Short, probably. And
All for Rick Short?
kind of sad because at the beginning, um, I look at it after the first for I think it was 1,500 votes came in. I'm like, I text alone. Have you seen the numbers? The progressives all have a slight lead. It looks like they're gonna take it, and then
They
I guess
didn't.
all the rest of the votes came in. So yeah, yeah, they lost, and we're not crazy about that because we have some beef with the town council and the mayor and the electoral process and basically everything. We're not crazy about things. Alone, do you think that we generally agree with things?
Okay. Well, obviously, since we're both in the same, like they both ran in the same party, we kind of basically agree with the general things.
Well, I mean at the town level, I don't think it's as important unless like they have some crazy policy ideas, but like nobody's pushing anything crazy. Okay, keep talking.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, I think okay, basically we're not. It's not like there was a Trump elected, right? It's not, and they're not even nearly as, in my opinion, as bad as
I don't know
Hillary.
alone. Caroline Jacobs, I mean, you saw that
We
she
care
went
about
from
the town, right? It's a difference of opinion.
she
At
went
the
from
end of
being
the day, it's a
She went from being Caroline Jacobs to Councilwoman Caroline Jacobs within the course of several minutes. It was a hostile takeover.
let me say this. This is the definition of a difference in opinion. Simply a difference in opinion. It's
Yes.
whether our town should stay the way it is right now, or whether it should move almost to become a city. Problem is, in my opinion, from everyone I talk to, most of the people in the town don't want to become more like a city. But
But
the,
look at the results alone.
but the problem is, those people don't vote. And now that's what I'm saying. If you didn't vote, you can't complain about it. You
Uh,
can you can
another,
try
I
if
just want
they
to point
go and try to turn land into a gas station again. You can complain about that, but you have to understand that if they do that, you're partially responsible if you did not vote for them for the column 7.
bad Americans. So I also want to point out that the Progressive Democrats for Cherry Hill lost to the Camden County Democratic Committee people.
Yes.
Uh, to put people on the county committee. That was our buddy Rena Margulis who we interviewed on Tuesday.
Yes.
They all the column 7 people got beat because as you probably saw in the first article I had up, right here. Um, Phil Murphy beat out Jim Johnson and Wisniewski and all the names, all the names. Um, he beat them pretty hard. He got like 40%, and the next highest was like a little bit more than 20. Um, Interestingly enough, uh, what's his face? Where? Let me show you. Hirsch Singh got like 10% of the vote. That's
Wow.
crazy.
Because
Hirsch Singh.
he's actually a conservative in many respects, and that was, I think that's what got, he had rational policies.
I mean, he got more votes than Brennan and Zinna. And I mean, he's a Republican. That's like pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So wait, let's just look at this real quick.
How
Uh,
many total people voted in the Democratic primary? Can you tell me that?
uh, Total people. Oh, that's a tough question. Well, let's do some quick math. 240, 281 over 0.483. That looks to be a little under a half million. How many people live in New Jersey alone?
Pretty sure around like 71,000.
It alone, that sounds very off.
That's what. Oh, never mind. That's what Wikipedia.
71,000 people live in New Jersey?
No, that was Wikipedia lying to me. I apologize, my viewers. I listened to fake news.
Gosh darn it alone. I'm okay, fine. I at least know that there's 2 million registered Democrats. So in the Democratic primary, about 25% of voters did the votey thing. And let me check
25%.
what
Here's
about
what.
25. What was it for our county, which I have the results open for because I love our county. It was about 26% ish. Similar.
Here's the thing. I think, and I think you problem is that when you have people that get in from lack of voting, right? Why would you want to educate people how to vote? And that's what I feel like that's the situation we might get into, right? Why would column six want to teach, enforce voting in young people if those are the people that are most likely going to vote against them?
Yeah, they part of their like last minute campaign was like get out the vote. But it was only to, it wasn't like real get out the vote. Real get out the vote's about everyone being at the polls and simply by virtue of more people being part of the process, gaining an advantage like that. But in a lot of ways, I mean, they obviously weren't the ones who suppressed the vote, probably.
No, no one suppressed the vote. I think we need.
I mean, well,
I
it's
think
like that's a state level thing.
I think we're just gonna have to keep doing what we're doing and appealing to the town council and seeing if that gets anything done. And I think that's the way we can make changes here. At this point, I have to understand that it's all about compromise. And these people
Mhm.
do want to help Cherry Hill. And I think by portraying them as the devil is very inaccurate. I think portraying them as having some differences is more accurate. Differences
Mhm.
might be important, but they're differences nonetheless. And if you get to work together on what you agree on, kind of push those forward, I think we can succeed.
I think the main other message is as a community, we have to work in order to ensure that we correct the flaws in our government in a multitude of ways. So one of them is this vote with these names and these numbers. But another way is being active in community politics, uh, going to meetings, reading up on local news. I know the Sodcast for a fact, in its new form next year, will continue to report on town politics because who else is doing it? Is it the Sun? Is it the Courier Post? No, it's going to be us.
Your
It's
number
going
one
to be you,
source of town news and every news.
East Side Sodcast. Um, yeah. So let's look at some other stuff real quick before we go into some more general discussion. These are some articles I found from Philly.com. There's actually two of them that are almost the same article, but they're written differently with different titles. I'm not crazy about the title for this one because they don't really explain it that well in the rest of the article. But no Trump bump for challengers in Camden County, where where primary politics were all local. Um, I guess what they tried to say with that is like, oh, there's be a huge progressive swing or something as a result of Trump. If anything, it's more related to like
Just keep
Democratic primaries, Bernie Sanders type
I mean,
things.
what did you think that New Jersey was going to be taken over by the Tea Party? Like, I think
Yeah,
that
that obvious. Our local stuff is more influenced by our local stuff. I guess you could say that is one of the reasons why we have the off-year elections. It's probably the primary reason that it was put forward.
what
Um,
primary reason, Josh? The general reason.
we make puns. We make the best puns. The huge. So this article mentions the progressive Democrats in Cherry Hill. Um, they say it was animated by liberal despair over Trump. I wouldn't have been talking about this. It's more that there's a unified progressive movement as a result. Like, I was reading an article in The Economist today that was sort of saying that even though people were kind of comparing it to the Tea Party, there were big differences in the
I mean, it
grassroots.
is part of, and I agree it is part of. But I think, like, again, we're not in a situation the country is in which we're scared that we're gonna have some sort of takeover and our rights are gonna be destroyed.
Yeah. Another interesting thing in here is it says that the column 6 Democrats lost 2-1 in some of the big West Side neighborhoods. So, I mean, I don't want to
I
keep
think
talking.
it's a situation of not going out to vote. I truly do think that the lib, the lib if more people came out to vote, Comp 7 would have won. They're called the establishment for a reason because they're established. They have established people who vote for them every single time. You know what? Good on them for actually getting regular people to vote.
Um, a few other things that this article mentions. A lot of it has to do with NIMBYism not in my backyard, relating to the zoning, which we talked about, um, and talking about the article mentions that the West Side is more working class and diverse, which kind of true. Sure, people around here on the East Side work, but it's mainly as doctors. Um, and then another thing that this article points out is, which is kind of contrary to, I guess, the narrative we've been, I guess, pushing and pushed by, that, it's no matter what, it's still really neighborhood based. It's not a, it's not like there's like a Cherry Hill machine per se, even though there might be. Who knows?
It's bought
We
out by
haven't.
the JCC.
Yes, run by the JCC, the International Monetary System, and Mayor Chuck Kahn and his family, stretching back generations to the Masons who built the temple in Jerusalem. You never know. We might discover that's completely true.
I mean,
In a
I
year.
do agree there's a machine. I don't think there's necessarily a Cherry Hill machine, just a machine that kind of has its
Yeah,
hands in all aspects of New Jersey. I think that needs
there's
to be a little
obviously
bit better worded, but I get what he was trying to say.
yeah, there's obviously a county level machine though,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure, because of the Norcrossy.
My old man, Donnie.
Donald Norcross. Um. So yeah, we're still not crazy about him. he obviously wasn't involved because he has a national position. Um,
In a year, he's going to be up for election again. We'll see. We'll be on that coverage.
yeah. This the rest of the article talks about a similar thing that happened in Gloucester County. Um, no, not Gloucester County, Gloucester Township. What else do we have? Oh, this was the similar article. It was like almost the same article, except the other was more of like a column. Wait, one of the guys is the same too. That's so weird. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. We're not even going to go over that one at all. Um, let's just look a little bit more at these maps, these beautiful maps that the New York Times has. New York, obviously, just north of New Jersey, because no one else cares anyway, except for these few groups. You can see that there was a bit more of a split among the Republicans. Good amounts of the state going for Citarelli.
I mean, I
Everyone
don't get
loving
this
her.
because I looked at a bunch of royal candidates for the Republicans, and there were some very good Republican candidates. They kind of picked the worst one. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna.
Well, didn't we Democrats too?
Yeah, I mean,
Like everywhere,
that's what I
because that's
don't.
state. Yeah.
I think again, it's just a situation of coming out to vote, and that didn't really happen.
Oh, hey, look, it's our county, Camden County.
Who went
Jim
almost
Johnson.
half for Jim Johnson? Hey, less than the average.
No, it's almost 20% for Jim Johnson. It's not almost half.
Sorry, almost half for Phil Murphy. Less than the average. My bad.
Well, alas. Um. Oh, and for state senate, I don't even know. Most of them were uncontested, which state senate's actually pretty important because you know what the
Can you go
state
down the
senate
state senate
did.
again?
Uh, the state senate, they passed a certain bill relating to service animals in public places. And we'll leave it at that. Many of our listeners know what we're referring to.
No,
They
but aside from the jokes, yeah, they are very important. Yeah, they all
yeah.
ran unopposed, from what it seems.
Now what are the
Oh wait,
whoa.
what about Hayden?
Oh, this guy. I don't even know who it is. Oh wait, and then there's two more.
What about
95,
Romero and Fisher?
95 to 5. Ooh, tough.
There was a
Well,
53 to 47.
that's a close one. Oh, and the star was for the incumbent. So there wasn't an incumbent running in that race or that race.
Oh,
In that race.
Republican was. Oh,
So that
yeah,
kind
that
of
makes.
explains why it's more contested. Just because they don't have anyone but this one, obviously. Not much of a contest, even if it was contested. Um, so yeah. Alone, is there anything else you want to talk about before we start talking about more general things?
No, I think we basically covered everything in that respect.
Alone, what else do you want to talk about before we sort of close this live episode of the Goldfinger Sodcast and stick it up on the SoundCloud
I
where
mean,
it belongs?
I think I said this multiple times, but these elections, the progressives are gonna keep losing them. It's gonna keep showing the importance of voting, and I think it's gonna take a couple of times before people realize that they're the ones at fault for
Mhm.
for for, for these things that are happening around them. They're the and I think once people realize that, more people will start to vote. And I truly do hope that within maybe even like 5 years, we have people interested in voting in Cherry Hill.
That's pretty crazy, Alone. That's like a pipe dream right there. I want my final comment to be, it was 1 year ago. Well, it was like a year and like 2 days ago, I think, maybe, when we recorded our first episode. Wait, I can check the exact date. possibly our pilot. And what day did it? It says 1 year, close enough. And we referred to the congressional primary, Alexander Norlaw. That was the name of the segment. And there was the young upstart Alex Law. He was not yet old enough to serve in the House of Representatives, but he would be by the time the general came around. And he was running as a progressive on a fairly progressive platform against Donald Norcross. And we supported Alex Law a good amount. We tried to get him to talk to him beforehand, and as we've said, he actually came to East to talk to political discussion clubs. So we met him there. And back then there was no infrastructure, and he was like the one guy who was he was running on that. And now we had a whole column, a whole there's a lot of names in a column. Have you ever looked at one of those? You would know if you voted or if you got it in the mail, because it goes for every registered voter. You get one in the mail. You would know a lot of names. Somehow this all came together. You'll actually hear more about that in our final thing that we put together. With the stuff we have. Basically, there's swift progress being made, and a lot of it can be attributed to the sort of progressive movement that's occurred as a response to what's going on nationally. But in a way, I think it is the common people around here taking back what they think is theirs. And I think as we go into the future, we're going to see more of that. And I agree with Alone. I would say in 5 years, we are going to see a strong enough progressive movement, at least, that we could take back the town council. It's gonna be crazy. No one ever thought it could happen.
We'll break the machine.
Martin Luther King Jr. thought this couldn't happen. He said, "I had a dream, but I would never even consider the progressive Democrats getting back the town council or getting it at all. The people taking it back." So that's that. Okay, are we closing up the episode here?
I think so. It was very nice to talk to you guys. And
Stop! I have to make announcements. Alone. Don't shoo them away.
oh, come back, everyone.
Okay. Are you all here? You all here? Okay, it sounds like you are. Okay, so this is, I think, unless we do something really quick on the Comey hearing happening tomorrow, I think this is our last real episode. Aside from our final one of this season, Alone's final episode, it's going to be interesting. Maybe it'll be less political than the average political podcast episode that we put out, but it's going to be interesting. This guy right here. This how do I zoom? Anyways, this guy. Yes, there we go. We're going to talk to him, but the show's basically it's coming to an end. So I've talked to the people that are going to be on the show next year. And I think it's going to be good. Alone, should I tell them the listening audience how it's going to be next year?
Yes, announce it now.
Okay, so I'm bringing on at least 3 new co-hosts. The big 3 that I'm very heavily in favor of adding on are Josh Joseph, Josh Bellin, and Aaron Copew. I was against Aaron at first because I wanted it to be called the Josh Sodcast. Might still be called the Josh Sodcast because 3/4 majority. But basically, the goal is to have enough people that we can do higher quality reporting, focus more in on stories, and have a greater diversity of politics happening. I think we're going to get more opinions. It's not going to be a decently liberal and a fairly liberal talking to each other. We're going to have more of the spectrum.
Am I the decently liberal or the fairly liberal?
I think you're the fairly liberal.
Okay.
That's going to be really cool. I'm hoping that we can get an episode out before the summer really kicks off so you can hear how it's going to sound. but that's how it's gonna be. And we'll bring Alone in. He'll be around. We can do live streams like this with Alone if he's not too busy doing whatever he's gonna do, like taking up like martial arts or whatever. Um, but I'm just gonna sign off right now. This has been a fabulous episode. Not a fabulous primary, a decent primary. I mean, primarily a primary. Anyways,
But
thanks
not
for
generally a
listening,
primary.
and goodbye.
Goodbye, guys.